Hello, everyone. Welcome to Digital Undivided and her Brand and Co's session on identifying and engaging your core customers. It's wonderful to see everyone. You're welcome to remain off camera or to connect to camera. We'll be on and off. We'll be off camera and on camera, parts of our team. I'm Leah Williams. I am the CEO of Digital Undivided. I'm new, so if you have joined us before for other sessions, you may not have met me before. I've been here for a number of weeks now, just came in the end of fourth quarter. Very excited to introduce you to these wonderful ladies. Let's go on to the next page. We'll tell you a little bit about Digital Undivided. We'll tell you a little bit about these two wonderful experts that you're going to get to spend some time with, and then I'm going to hand it over after that. So as I said, I'm Leah Williams. I'm the CEO. Digital Undivided, you probably know this, but if you're in our DID community, we have been doing this since 2012. We have the seminal research of Project Diane in terms of investment dollars going to Black and Latina founders. That number still remains. It has moved, but it remains still critically low. We still have a lot of work to do. And really educating our founders and entrepreneurs and connecting them with investment is what we do as an organization. And sessions like this for success with great partners like Her Brand and Co. are what we do. So let me tell you a little bit about this. So here's Her Brand and Co. You're going to meet these two wonderful ladies that are here today, Jessica and Mari. They have been doing this now for a bit of time and impacted literally thousands of women across multiple countries, and helped many, many hundreds of female founders launch their businesses. And so their marketing strategies and their ways to engage your true customers and how to engage them and keep them engaged, this is things you want to write down. You're going to want to write this down. This is going to be a great session. Digital Undivided and Her Brand and Co. have been doing this now for more than a year. This is our first time, our first rodeo with this one, right, Jessica and Mari? And so we really are both about equipping women of color with competitive tools and expertise and resources. And I'm going to hand it over. Jessica, shall I hand it over to you first? Okay, Jessica, hand it over.
Absolutely. Thank you, Leah. What an introduction. I feel like there's not too much to say after that. That was awesome. But yeah, hi everybody. Good to see you all again. I think this is I don't even know, third or fourth time, Mari, doing an AMA with the group? Fourth, yeah. So it's such a good group, and we really care a lot about the organization and its mission, and are really honored and happy to be here. So just very quickly, I'll say a little bit about myself, and then I'll let Mari come off mute and say hi as well. But I'm our co-founder and CEO. I've been working in marketing for well over a decade, and prior to co-founding Her Brand & Co. with Mari, I was an accidental entrepreneur. I was fired on a Friday afternoon from my corporate job, my dream corporate job, and had no backup plan. And then by Monday morning, I had launched my first business, and that was probably 13 years ago now. And I've been a founder ever since. And marketing is the second reason that businesses fail outside of access to capital. So it is a tremendous pain point, as I'm sure you all know. And marketing is extremely cumbersome, confusing, expensive, and it's just going to continue to be that way as marketing grows in its individual silos. So that's really where Her Brand & Co. comes into place. We are an educational platform that our mission is to democratize access to marketing education. We find that the same way that a financial advisor would tell you that you need to know the numbers of your business, we feel the same way about the marketing. As the founder, as the CEO, as the leader, you need to know how to grow the business. You need to know who your customers are, how to find them, where to reach them. Doesn't mean you have to do the marketing yourself, but it means you have to know what to do. So that's really what our education is about. It's very action oriented. It's very what's the word? We cut through the noise. It's not about dancing on TikTok or Reels or Instagram if that's not what you want to do. There's many different ways to grow a business, and it's about creating a marketing plan and a growth strategy that you can actually do and then is sustainable to you. And a big part of that is customers, which is why we're here today. So that's a little bit about myself and our company. And I hand it over to Mari, my co-founder.
Hi, everyone. So excited to be here. So my background is in marketing communications. And before I linked up with Jess, I worked in higher education for about 10 years. all in program development, community development, marketing. So education has been near and dear to my heart for a very long time. I grew up in Maracaibo, Venezuela, if there's any Latinas in the room. So super excited to serve the Digital Undivided community here today and throughout our partnership with the organization. So excited to kick us off. We're going to be chatting customers today because without really understanding who your customer is and who is willing to pay for your product or service, it is nearly impossible to market, right, successfully to them and in a meaningful way. So that's really what we're working on today. So AMA, the way that we're structured our Ask Me Anything sessions is we open it up to you to ask us questions about a specific topic. And today, like Jess said, we're talking customers. And the reason why we wanted to really bring this topic to you all today is because your customers, should be at the center of any of your marketing strategies, right? So we need to understand what are the topics that really drive them to action, and how is it that you best can show up for them to make their lives better. So we're going to be chatting about that today. If you're like, I'm not sure, we get to explore that together as well. So I know that Leah said you can stay off camera, absolutely, but this is definitely going to be an engaging session. So even if you're off camera, please leverage the chat and come off mute, because we want this to be as engaging as possible so you can get the most out of this hour that we have to get together today. Okay, so I'm going to put a couple of topics in the chat for everyone to look at, and we'd love to start to see if there's anything specific that comes to mind when you see these particular questions. So when you think customer, right, when you think the people that are buying your product or service, who comes to mind? Let's put a name to this person. Let's put some characteristics around this person, and we can maybe start there. And we'll obviously need to know a little bit about your business as well.
And as you're putting this stuff into the chat, do tell us your business. So tell us what your business is. And then put this information in here, and then we will go from there. And then Digital Undivided team, if you're okay with it, what we've done before is we've just pulled people up on stage and had them answer, we can answer their questions directly in sort of live workshop. So this is very much like on the cuff, fly information, which I love. So if anybody wants to come off mute and kind of kick us off about what you're doing with your customers as it pertains to these questions, please feel free to do so. Just raise your hand in the chat and we'll bring you up on stage and we'll go from there. So we've got some leading questions for you so far. So, I think as we think about customers, oftentimes founders go into the typical things, right? So like socioeconomic status, male or female, where they live, demographics, and all of that is fine. But really, when we think about customers and we think about what marketing is intended to do, the way I love to explain this is really like a solar system analogy. And those of you who have been here before probably have heard this already. But when you think about your marketing engine, it really has to work together like a system. So your brand is the sun of the solar system, right? This is your unique value proposition. This is what makes you different than everybody else. These are your brand values. This is the touchy, feely, warm part of your business, right? And the brighter and stronger your sun is, the more gravity, right, will pull the planets around your sun. And the planets in your solar system are going to be the marketing channels. And this looks like email, podcasts, content marketing, oh my God, so many other things like Facebook, social media, paid ads, event marketing, the list just goes on and on and on. And that's really where this can get confusing, is it's like, what are the specific planets that are going to make your solar system for your customer hum and function as well as it should? And typically founders do two things. They either dump all their eggs in one planet, right? So this is a founder who recently, actually, she's just recently, they're going to join our mastermind. They have grown their entire business through ads. And what happens when they turn off their ad? They have no lead acquisition strategy at all. So that means that that's incredibly dangerous for their business, because that's the only planet in their solar system that they're using to grow. It puts the business at a lot of risk. So, or the opposite happens, which might sound familiar to you, which is I'm going to do all the planets and I'm going to start with 45 planets and then the whole system just comes crashing down to the floor. So that's really what every founder, as we've seen over the years, that's what every founder sort of Achilles heel is what are the planets that you need at specific parts of the business? Because the planets from 0 revenue to 50,000, different planets than 50,000 to 100,000 to to $250,000, $1 million, and so forth. You're rebuilding the solar system every time. So as we think about customers, I'd like to challenge you to think about it a little bit differently than you maybe have been taught or heard before. And part of that is really thinking through one of the pain points, one of the points we put in here, which is understanding your customers' pains and desired gains. This feels like vernacular, but I think this is really, really important and an area that founders overlook very easily. Founders oftentimes, whether it be a service-based business or a product-based business, they jump into features. The program is this long. The program has these many workbooks in it. My product has these many colors, these many patterns. But what they don't focus on in the marketing language is what is the pain point that the customer has and how does this product or service really solve that pain point, and can you communicate that really clearly? Because if we're not communicating that, it makes the marketing of the thing a lot harder. So that's why we really want to think about what are your customers' pains and gains. So I'd like to start there. I'd like to start with what is your business, and what is the specific pain point that your customer has that you are looking to solve. And I will pull you up on stage even if you're off on video. So please come into the chat and let us know so we can do some live workshopping. And Mari, I see your messages. That sounds good. Okay. Who should we pull up, Mari? Who's going to be the unlucky first one?
Oh, I don't know, Michelle?
So I'm happy to start.
We're going to go with Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Hi. So my apologies. I am at this coffee shop, and it is very, very loud in here. So I hope you can hear me okay and that the background noise is not distracting.
No, it's okay. We can hear you.
So my perspective is a little cheaty because I actually run startup ecosystems in Dallas. Thank you so much. I run startup ecosystems in Dallas, and so my perspective of my customers might be a little more, I don't know, maybe fleshed out. I think the thing that I'm struggling with is like narrowing down. So I'm building a virtual assistant firm because I do strategy consulting. One of the things that I'm finding with some of my clients is that VAs suck. And not because they're bad, but just because oftentimes VAs are trained to work with corporate clients, which those of us that work with startups know that does not translate well. And so the founders are spending a lot of time training the VAs. And so I've, long story short, I am using a blend of unique training strategy as well as generative AI to help expedite the training process for VAs. And my specific clients are going to be startups and mid-sized businesses as well as nonprofits, mainly because those are my strategy clients that I work with primarily. And so to like go through these questions, the pain points that my customers are experiencing is so the time that it takes to train a VA and also the cost. So this is going to be an international business. I'm actually hiring business graduates from South Africa, which creates arbitrage and cost. And so taking care of those two pain points. And then the other is oftentimes, and I don't know if this is a pain point or if this is just something that I've seen. So oftentimes when they do hire VAs, they hire them without actually doing an analysis of what they need the VAs to fit. So it goes like this. I'm hella busy. I don't have time to do these 5 things. So I'm going to hire a VA to do these 5 things. But the actual issue may not actually be those 5 things. It may be that you need to focus on strategy in a different way, or you need to focus on, you're spending a lot of time spinning your wheels here. And so part of the onboarding process is actually identifying the actual problem that's taking up so much time, and then pairing you with a virtual assistant that is cost effective, that's also uniquely trained by a startup consultant. So I think that answers all of the questions except for the customer persona. And that's actually the thing that I'm struggling with the most, because my business, I feel like, fits a couple of different customers. But as you know, it's very difficult to craft a message when you're looking at 4 different verticals of types of clients that I could go after.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thanks for sharing. So I have a question. What is the difference between what you are building and the myriad of other virtual assistants out there that are also affordable, and that also solve the same problem? Are you doing it a different way? Like, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're doing it a different way. So the first is that the majority of VA firms that are out there, they have very smart virtual assistants that are not uniquely trained for whatever industry that the client is usually coming from. And so the first differentiator is that we're using generative AI to create industry profiles. So taking a step back, a lot of VAs are international, right? They're coming from mainly Asia. So Vietnam is a big place, Philippines is a big place, Colombia a little bit, Brazil a little bit, but a lot of them are coming from Asia. And so there's a cultural competency gap, as well as just the way that they're trained. They're trained more in alignment to be a corporate executive assistant than they are an entrepreneur's assistant. And the biggest gap there is that you don't know what you don't know. And so the difference between our firm and another firm is, one, we're training these VAs very specifically to work with the unique entrepreneurial needs that I know exist because I do this work. The second thing is that every single client will get a unique onboarding process that includes building out a very industry-specific generative AI that both them and the VA will be using together to help streamline the time that it takes to train the VA, because that's the biggest pain point that we're seeing across this industry. It's not just they need a cheap VA, it's that they often don't have time to train the VA, and so then they blame the VA, and it's not the VA, it's time and it's training, and it's just as much on the entrepreneur as it is on the VA to learn together. And then the third thing that we're doing that's a little bit unique, that may be different, is that we're building more of a bespoke consulting model. So this VA will be more of like a strategy assistant, because we're hiring people that have more of a business acumen than a traditional VA. And so because we're doing this very bespoke onboarding model, the VA then actually becomes more of like a business support strategist than just an admin.
Mm-hmm. Really cool. So then what are the different categories that you're focused on? What are the industries that they have expertise in? And are you starting with just a few?
Yeah, we're starting with just a few. So I'm launching with 20 clients. And so I'm actually I don't necessarily have an industry focus right now, because I'm trying to see what the market demand actually is. I can tell you the type of client that we're primarily working with, which is going to be startups and mid-sized businesses, and also mid-sized to large nonprofits, because they also have a very unique need and niche. And we're going to be training our VAs around fundraising and all those things, because again, that's my subject matter expertise. And so I can tell you the type of client, but as far as the industry goes, it's a little all over the place, which is why we can use generative AI to help us with that.
Yeah, the reason I brought up industry is because you had mentioned that the VAs have specific industry expertise, which is why I was trying to figure out what are the buckets that you're focused on, like in the early stages or at launch stage. Because presumably then you would have certain VAs with that knowledge on the platform already.
Okay. Yeah, so let me rephrase that. What I should have said was that we are creating we're using generative AI to create industry expertise.
Got it. Okay. I see. Very cool. Okay. So then what is your biggest struggle right now in terms of customers? Where do you feel the bottlenecks right now?
So it really is, and the question that I'm asking myself is, as we're launching, should we focus on specific industry? So the model doesn't require us to focus on specific industries because we're using AI. I don't have to, right? But from a marketing perspective, I'm wondering if I should, right? Like, so should I target specifically, I'm just throwing something out there, like startups that are focused on financial services and real estate, right? And then nonprofits and go down that specific. Those are my two different, industries focused on. Or should I focus on a client type, which is startups of any industry, and nonprofits of any industry? I think that's the thing that I keep going back and forth on, because that determines, of course, like the copy that I'm using and the way that the website is reading and all of those different things. And so I keep going back and forth on those things.
Okay. I'm going to draw a really terrible drawing. Mari has seen this many, many times. But I think this would be helpful for you and also for everybody else. So this is oops, hold on. I have to turn off my background. You'll see my home office and also maybe my kitty. Okay, so this is your typical bell curve, as you can see, right? So it's in 4 parts. This is based off of a framework from Gregory Moore's book, which is called Crossing the Chasm. And it's this concept that it sounds pretty self-explanatory once you know it, but it's like any new product or service that launches into market starts here. Ooh, where am I going? Thanks, Mario, for that. So that starts here. So this customer group right here is called your early adopters. So these are people, or they're also called your innovators, but early adopters is more general. So these are people that already feel the pain. These are people that are actively looking for solutions in your space. These are the people that are willing to try something that hasn't been tested before, and they're willing to pay more for it because they need it and want it so badly. And this is like a proven group. It's also the smallest group, right? So this is the tiniest, smallest group that you can market to once you're new to market. And then what happens is, as the business grows and as you start to acquire more customers, this is why marketers are always like niche, 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 niche. And it's because you really want to figure out who this group is. And yeah, Mari brought up a good point. You don't have to educate them on the need of your service. They already know. They're like, I already know I need the thing. I already know I need a VA. You don't have to tell me why I need one. So like for your business purposes, for example. But so what happens is that as a business grows, it starts to go up the adoption curve and acquire more diverse types of customers. And the business typically wants to go over here. This is called your early majority. This is roughly 33% of the global population. This is a big market. What happens is businesses try to jump this chasm without having the product market fit or the early adopters really give the stamp of approval on the first iteration of what the product or service is going to be. And what happens is they fall in the chasm, right? So the whole book, the whole framework is around how do you cross the chasm? And you do it by really identifying who those early adopters are and super saturating that market so heavily to the point then that you can easily jump to a next customer base because you have the validity and the buy-in from that early adopter. And most founders make the mistake is they try to go too wide too fast and they end up falling in the chasm. So I'd love for you to think through then, who are those early adopters, right? And it could be industry specific, it might not. This really goes back to the initial question that Mari put in there, which is, what is the specific pain point or set of pain points that are so high emotionally for your customer that they're like, yeah, I'll buy it. Like, I don't even care that it's more expensive than something else. And it can also be half baked and half, like, it could be in beta phase, for example. I'm not suggesting yours is in beta, but if it were, your early adopters easily will go into something that's half baked, or they'll buy an MVP. So that would be my answer to you, is to think through what that looks like. You had mentioned about the cost, which, you know, us being working with small business owners for so long, cost for a VA is real. I mean, we have several founders who have been in business for a while, and they're paying $25, $35 an hour for a VA. You know, like, that's a lot for a VA in terms of resource allocation. So when you think about people like finance and real estate, my first assumption is I believe that customer is pretty affluent. So then is there a real match there? Is that the right customer, or is that the right pain point that you are trying to address? And we have to make sure that those things are aligned as much as possible. So that would be my feedback. Mari, do you have something to add there? Hopefully I explained that correctly.
Yes, I do. I have two things. One, to answer Michelle's comment on so she says finding is that those early adopters aren't industry specific, they're just frustrated and aren't wanting to sign up before I have even launched. So then my follow-up question would be, is there something else that they have in common that's not industry? Is it the stage of their business? Is it their revenue? There have to be some sort of specific things that we can pull so that when we're marketing to them, whether it's a website, email, social, networking in person, that you can pull this language and be intentional in how you are driving down the fact that they need your service, right? Like, that your service is the answer to their frustrations. So if the industry is not the answer, right, of what it is, what's the commonality among them, I think it is important that we understand what is, so that then you can communicate with them effectively. So hopefully that's helpful. And then Honey,
Yeah.
sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that that's definitely helpful. And as I'm thinking through it, the drawing helps because because of my network, I think I just kind of assume like, oh, these people are easy. Let me just jump over to that second, bucket, the early majority, as opposed to like really, really zoning in and focusing. So to answer that question, Mari, what I'm finding is that while they're not industry specific, they are like kind of stage specific. So they are what we would in the entrepreneurial world still consider like startups. They're not, making millions in revenue, but they are revenue positive in a way where they know in order to scale, this is where they are, they're at the brink of scaling. So they know that in order to scale, that they need to release some of their bandwidth, but what they've already tried VAs and they've failed. Like the connection has failed. And it's usually because of these two things. It's either time or training. And then to the point earlier about cost, it is like, okay, in order for me to get someone that I don't have to train, I have to pay them more than what I can afford. And so what I'm solving are those two price points that like, hey, no, actually we can get you a really brilliant VA at a price that you can afford. We will train them for you to help save you that time so that you can then scale. And that's if I think about like the 30 people that are at my earliest clients, that's where without a doubt, that's where they all are. They're at the brink of scaling, or whatever that means for their specific business. And they've tried VAs before, and they know that it could work. They just don't have the time or expertise to either train them, invest in them, or the money to hire someone who doesn't need training.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for that. I love that. So in your copy, like I'm imagining something like, scale ready businesses who want to scale, but are running into these 4 problems. Boom, 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 boom. And those are like the pain points that you're solving for that founder. And that could be, so many things are happening when you're trying to grow and scale the business, but it's like stretched too thin, don't know what to delegate, don't know what to prioritize, don't know where to put your specific time, where your time is valuable. So thinking through those founders and what are their probably 4 to 5 like biggest pain points to scale, then now we can start building a marketing message that is going to be like right on target with what that customer needs. And then it'll help us match better the solution, which will inevitably bring up the perceived value of the solution.
I want to take this question live as well. Since we're surveying those early adopters help. Yes, 100%. If you already have paying customers or somebody that said, I'm interested, please send me more information, we need to understand their pains, their desired gains. What are they trying to accomplish? What made them say yes to your product or service? What was the driving factor that was like, this is what I've not been able to find that I need to have immediately. And then while you're at it, we need to understand where they hang out. How can you reach more of people like them, right? Because then the idea is that you get in front of these customers with intentional language that you've developed in order to really drive those pain relievers or game providers, those points, and then you onboard them as paying customers.
Mari and I do customer discovery every year. Every year we go into like a customer discovery mayhem. It's usually somewhere Q3, Q4, because we know more information now. We've been doing it a year later. We've learned a lot, and we've learned different information at different stages of growth. So that customer discovery never ends. Even after you get over the early majority into the early market, you still are doing customer discovery. I want to say one more thing about the bell curve, which I think is helpful. And then I saw any suggestions on how to craft questions. Yes, I can give you suggestions on those. So if I go back to my terrible drawing, I wanted to explain the rest of the bell curve. So we discussed early adopters, we discussed early majority, and then over here is we have our late majority as you go down the bell curve, and then here you have your laggards. So these are people who, for the late majority is a really interesting group. So let's take what's an example? Okay, we have a founder. Her name is Carrie Ferris. She has a company called Once Again Home Co. She makes these beautiful, like really fun kitchen towels and reusable sponges out of recycled water bottles. So her whole brand is about easing your way into sustainability, like fun, super absorbent stuff in your kitchen. You don't have to be a purist to be sustainable. You can make like one good choice in your kitchen, right? So it's about the ease of sustainability. So when you think about that, what her brand is about, right? Her early adopters are going to be people who are actively looking for ways to be, let me put it here, who are actively looking for ways to be more sustainable, right? They're probably not using plastic bags. They probably changed their laundry detergent to a more sustainable one and not doing the ones that come in bins. Like there's other behaviors that they are doing. Okay, so that's early adopter. Early majority is going to be the next group, as we discussed, but the early adopter has a huge influence over the early majority. And then over here you have your late majority. These are people who, in Carrie's world, these are people who kind of get on the sustainability train a lot later. It's not very important to them. They're like, I'm just going to buy whatever detergent's on sale and I'm going to use my coupon, and like, I don't really care what it does for the planet. These are people who like use a paper towel every day without even really thinking about the sustainability factor of what that might mean. And the reason this is important to know about this customer is so many times founders and small businesses, they end up marketing to a late majority and they don't realize that that's what they're doing. So these people need a lot of education. You have to explain to them why sustainability is important. You have to explain to them so many different things to even get them to even consider the product or solution, which is very expensive for customer acquisition in time and in money, right? So then on the very end of the bell curve, you have your laggards, and Carrie's world. One more thing about the late majority. The late majority is heavily influenced by these two groups. They will not move unless they personally know someone or has had a relationship with someone who can be like, no, like you're ruining the planet. You need to buy these other, whatever it is. You know what I mean? They need a lot of influence. Whereas the late majority over here, or your laggards, the laggards over there, they are just simply not interested. This person is like, do not care about Carrie and her business, do not care about the planet, not a priority for me. I care about these other things. It is like nearly impossible to get this customer to move. So as in any business, and hopefully this is helpful for everybody, I know we're using Michelle as our main example today, but for any business, you have to know who is at each level for you, and are you marketing to the right person? So where does your ideal customer fall on this curve? And if you're like, the customer I've been marketing to is over here, then we've been marketing to the wrong customer. So that tells us that we need to pivot and make a change about who our market is. So I wanted to sort of explain the rest of the curve. Anything else you want to add, Mari?
Yes, I would love to
Yeah,
add an example for another founder that we work with.
sure.
Her name is Carmen, and her business is Park and Coop, and she makes aprons out of upcycled denim, right? So her whole marketing has been around how, again, sustainability, it's upcycled, it's good for the planet, etc. Well, come to find out, as she's been doing customer discovery, is like that is the last reason people actually buy her aprons, right? So really understanding when you're thinking about speaking to your customers and who's actually paying for your product or service is to understand what they actually care about. Because for her, even though it's, she's doing it because it's upcycled denim, because it's sustainable, and that's the reason why she's making these beautiful aprons and placemats and kitchen towels as well, it doesn't matter to her early adopter. Her early adopter is looking for the quality of the piece, the style, the fact that they get to match with their little one because she has like mommy and me sets. That is her early adopter. That's who's actually paying $120 for her aprons. And the fact that they are made out of upcycled denim is a plus, right? So that's like, oh, and that's cool too, but that shouldn't be, as opposed to Carrie with the water bottle towels, that shouldn't be part of her initial connection when she's reaching her ideal customer, right? Because that is not who, or that is not what, or the issue or the pain that her early adopter is trying to solve. It's a completely different thing. They want to form this connection with their toddler or their child where they're cooking while they are doing arts and craft. They love the material and how it feels. So if that's what matters to the people that are paying for her product, then that's what we need to be talking about on the website, on the emails, on social, when she's out in front of people. Does that make sense?
So good. So good. So I want to circle back to Michelle quickly for anyone who can't see the chat, who might not be on video. So she says, so given the late majority are moving based on others' influence, I assume this is where customer testimonials come in. Yes, absolutely. Even with the early majority, testimonials from the early adopters are critical to get them to move. And then she says, also, are these customer pools time dependent? You start with early majority, try to saturate first and move on. And I said, yes. Typically, you're in early adopter territory the first 1 to 3 years of the business. This is not an exact science, but it's typically the first 3 years, you're all up in early adopter territory. You're not moving, you're not crossing the chasm at all until you've really hit product market fit and you've got sustainable, really good moving revenue, repeat customers, the business is economically sound. Then we can start trying to make the bridge to cross the chasm into the early majority. And then she said, so basically I'm trying to do too much. I'm trying to do too much. I need to focus on the group. This is helpful. This brings us something that we say a lot, which is, I'm sure you've all heard the term a friend to all is a friend to none. It's the same thing in marketing. When you market to all, you market to none. So that is why this is so helpful and important. And it's scary sometimes for founders because they're like, but my business is good for all these different people. And if I don't market to them, then I'm going to leave all of them out. That is the reality in the early stages. And it's because you want to super saturate that early adopter market so heavily and gain your traction and be known, because it's going to make that jump so much easier, and it makes your marketing a lot more specific, which is helpful for all types of growth. Okay, cool. Thanks for that. I hope that was helpful, Michelle. Let's see. Honey Beauty says, will serving those early adopters help? Yes, Mari, I need to move upstairs. I just heard my youngest is on her way in. So can you take this question and I'll be upstairs. I'll come back in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, so we started talking about that earlier. I think the follow-up question from Honey Beauty, sorry, we don't know your name, is what type of questions should you be asking? So then I guess I'm going to answer this question with a question is what do you not know about your customers and how to reach them, right? So is it, and also if any chance that we get to have an open-ended question, any chance that you get to actually talk to them, not just survey them on like a multiple choice type question, you're going to get so much more valuable information because you're giving them the opportunity to tell you exactly their unfiltered experience rather than giving them choices that you have already predetermined as far as what the answer to that question would be. So when I want to say a year ago, we ran phone interviews with our customers, with our list, founders on our list. And I want to say we had 100 20-minute calls with our customers, and they were all open-ended questions. But the idea was to really understand, we weren't selling them anything. The idea was to understand what their journey was like and what had prevented them from engaging with us in a specific service or product that we were selling them, right? So was it too hard? Was it too long? Was it not specifically the solution that they were searching for? But we weren't going to get to that answer unless we gave them the opportunity to share openly what that looked like to them, for them. So I guess my suggestion would be to keep the questions open-minded, to understand what it is, what is information that you're missing from them specifically. So this is when you have to think about your business bottleneck, right? Is it that you don't know where to find them? Is it that once you get the lead, you're able to convert them because they get to see the value very clearly and they're willing to give you their money? So then the question that we need to be asking them, or the questions that we need to be asking them, is where do they hang out? Who do they trust? How can you show up for them in a way that offers value differently outside of your business, right? So that would be all if the bottleneck is lead gen. If the bottleneck is conversion, which was the case for us a couple of years ago, right? So now you're able to get them on your list, or you're willing, or you're able to get them to engage with you on social or engage with you in person or whatever that business model marketing funnel looks like for you. Great, but then you're not able to convert them. There's a missing link in that middle of the funnel. So then the questions could be around what, like that particular piece that may be missing for them in that process. Yes, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Hello, hi. My name is Genesis, by the way. This is all like pretty helpful information. So I actually been learning a bit more about like the interview, like you mentioned, instead of serving, maybe doing interviews. So I've been working on trying to do the interviews. Now that I know, I have to ask more like open-ended questions. I feel like I'm at a point that I have like some repeat customers. Like when it comes to the marketing, like for me, I'm like a numbers person, and marketing, I'm like, if I would have known marketing was such a huge thing, I would have been to school for marketing and not finance. But basically, like,
You need to know the numbers though, so you're good. Marketing is a lot of numbers, actually. So
yeah,
you're good. You're good.
Good. I'm glad. I'm like working on growing my email list. So I've been like creating blogs and doing stuff like that. But it just seems like marketing is so many different things that I don't know, like if I should focus on one thing specific. I know that emails are important. So trying to acquire that, like I have people follow on social, but then they don't really go through the point of like going on the email. And then once they do go on the email, like I have a couple hundred people, the conversion process. So I'm now starting to send out like email newsletters and things like that. So I think for me, it's just maybe trying to focus in something specific, but that's where my challenge has been, because I feel that people are connecting with my mission and they like the products, they love it, but it's just like, all right, like now how do I get those people to get other people to buy?
Okay, so I'm going to raise my hand. I have a lot. So I'm going to say a couple things. So I put it in the chat. There's a few things here on brand paint color. Yeah, I love it. So there's a framework called Lean Startup. It's been around for a long time. I have taught Lean Startup for over 10 years. And basically Lean Startup has a bunch of different philosophies to follow, but one of them, well, there's a couple. One of them is based off of this concept that everything in your business is a hypothesis until proven otherwise. literally every single thing. And I think this is helpful because a lot of founders, and particularly female founders, we really have a hard time with not knowing all the answers. Hold on, my video is frozen. There we go. We have a hard time with not knowing all the answers, and we want, oftentimes, obviously I'm grossly oversimplifying, but we, the collective we, typically want to launch the right thing at the beginning. And the reality is that that's usually not always going to be the case, whether it's an email newsletter, a product, a service, etc. So if we know that everything in our business is a hypothesis until proven otherwise, Lean Startup teaches us that there are these things called leap of faith assumptions, which basically means if you're going to jump off of a cliff, right, with your first most critical assumptions, what are the ones that are going to sink or swim the business right now? So the example in the book talks about, it's called sinking the Titanic. And this is the idea. If the Titanic is sinking, it's a crude example, but it's a good one. If the Titanic is sinking and you're over here polishing silverware, is that the most important thing we can be doing for the business, right? So, or for the boat, right? But the same thing applies to the business. So if we were to assume that the Titanic is sinking, even if your business isn't failing, but let's assume that the Titanic is sinking, what is the most mission critical assumptions you need to make right now? So that will help you start to prioritize what are the things you should test and validate, which brings me to my next thing. Lean Startup, one of the other frameworks is called validated learning, which circles back to what we're talking about. Validated learning is having a hypothesis ahead of time and testing and validating if your hypothesis is correct. Like, this takes us back to, like, what did we learn the scientific method? I don't know, 7th grade. That's literally what this is. So what I would encourage you to do, Genesis, and anyone else struggling with this, which is a struggle for so many founders. Mari and I are going through this right now. Like, we go through validated learning through every stage of the business, because you figure out what works and then you're like, oh, I have a new idea. Oh, I have to validate that before I actually build it. I have to really test my hypothesis about this. So that's the first thing I would encourage you to think through, Genesis. I would encourage you to write down, what are your biggest leap of faith assumptions? Like, what are the things in your business that if you don't figure out this year, it's going to sink the Titanic? So, I mean, we can kind of openly talk through that. Like, is it that you need leads? So you need to figure out what your lead gen strategy is. Or is it that you're getting leads, but they're not converting? So that means, okay, I know my lead gen's working, but my funnel, something is broken in the funnel. I have to investigate the funnel. The thing with marketing is there's so many forks in the road where customers can just boop, fall off the cliff. That's where it gets hard, is we have to pinpoint where on your path they are and how can we sort of meet them where they are. So do you have any initial ideas of what your leap of faith assumptions might be based on your business now?
So just to clarify, those assumptions would be the ones that, like, if I don't work on those this year, the boat will sink.
Titanic's going down. Yes, ma'am.
So I think for me, also basically where I'm at in my business, like, I founded 2020, but I really launched, like, it's been a little bit over a year. So
Okay.
I'm so used to, like, okay, like, why aren't I making revenue? Like, why aren't I on the positive? But then I'm like, okay, wait, let me take it back, because I know that the first 1 to 3 years, maybe those numbers are not gonna be what I want. And then I've been tying success and everything to that. But then I'm like, okay, like, let me try to just bring it back. So I think for me, it will just be like, literally, like, I know that it's an ongoing thing, but just continuing to build the leads is what I feel like I need to figure that out. Like, in the funnel, like, from the beginning to the end, like, how can I have a customer, like, come in, sign up, subscribe, then they get some emails, and then the idea is for them to purchase. And then, of course, repeat customers is always good. Having the customers that I already have, maybe add in some reviews, because I know that helps. So I feel like maybe just, like, continuing to grow is what I've been trying to do, and also trying to put specific, like, processes and, like, systems in place to like help me not like just continuing going around in circle, because I don't want to necessarily tie a number to it because I know that I'm very like early on. So that's what I think it might be, but it's just so many moving parts that I don't know.
It is, you're right. So are you saying you have sales, but you're not profitable yet? Which is very common for a product-based brand, by the way.
Exactly.
Is that the case?
Yes.
Okay. Um, is it because, like, are your economics correct? Like, are you building a widget for $5 but selling it for 3? Like, are the margins correct in the business?
So I actually been getting mentorship by an other beauty entrepreneur that it is like they're in Walmart and they're in Target, and we looked at the numbers, and based on the cost of goods, like it's too high. But in the beginning, it's just like you just work with a manufacturer just
Right.
because they
Everything's
could.
expensive.
Yeah. So like
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the works of trying to connect with a new manufacturer because they don't have minimum queues. So and then
Mm-hmm.
also lower the price. So that's like in the back end, like those numbers, I'm definitely working on that to bring down that number, because she's like, okay, like let's say if you do go into like let's say a Target or whatever it is, if you currently sell it at 25, but would you be open to selling it at 17? And I had to respond to no, because it doesn't make sense. Like I wouldn't even be making anything. And then I know that she had mentioned a lot of it is just like, being flexible, but I now know that I need to lower down that number, because if I don't, then if I do get hopefully an opportunity like that, it just wouldn't make any sense financially for the business. And then it could
Mm-hmm.
potentially to something else down the road.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people want those big accounts and then they don't realize how hard it is to fill those accounts. So you might just be too early for that because they do want a certain amount of numbers. That's where honestly going back to the adoption curve is really important, That's a B2B play. That's a business to business marketing channel. You doing wholesale or getting into retailers. Is that the early adopter? Do you have a different early adopter who will pay the premium price because they need and want the product based off of the pain point? So this goes back to really understanding the pain points that you're solving with the product and how your product is solving those pain points. Being really, really clear about that and continuing to massage that message over and over as you get more customer feedback.
Yeah, that sounds good. Cause like you said, like I know that that's definitely like in the future, not now, but those are
Mm-hmm.
things that I'm like being asked about that I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But for right now, like a lot of it is just like online sales. So I have been able to thankfully get people to like go on the website and like purchase, because they're able to connect and see the quality of the product. So that's always good. So just continuing to basically, like you mentioned, like massage the pain points and just kind of talk through that. So I'll definitely
Yeah.
like work on that as well. And then I've been interested in doing the interviews. So hopefully getting that feedback would help me massage that and, make the messaging a little bit more refined.
Absolutely. So I have 2 more points. I know we'll move to close. Whenever you do customer discovery interviews, this is for everybody. As Mari was saying, you want to ask open-ended questions. Think about that you're on trial. You don't want to lead the witness, right? And this is also like a lean startup framework. We have what's called the founder's bias, even if it's subtle. We want to be right. We want our assumptions to be right. We want to think that we have the right answer. And sometimes we don't have the right answer. Sometimes just because we think it's a good idea doesn't mean our customers are going to buy it at the price that we say or where. This has happened to Mari and I countless times. We thought we were right, and then we had to regroup and pivot countless times. So whenever you do customer discovery, you want to, as Mari said, do very open-ended questions. You might have an idea of what you think your hypothesis should be, but you definitely do not want to lead the witness, and you want to see what bubbles up to the top. So I wanted to mention that. And then the last thing I would encourage you to mention, and then we'll move to Clarissa, is Genesis for you, then moving back to leap of faith assumptions. If you know leads are your name of the game, you just need to get more leads in the funnel to start working on the funnel. What are your assumptions of how to get those leads? Is it going to be going to pop-ups? Is it trade shows? Is it doing collabs and partnerships? Is it like, how are you going to get in front of the lead to get them onto your email list? And what are the stickiest, easiest ways to do that? The best way I like to say this is like, if we've got cash flow for 6 months in the bank, probably building a gigantic audience on TikTok is not going to be the juice isn't going to be worth the squeeze there, right? There are much more tactical, straightforward ways to get access to customers that isn't you doing it by yourself. So that would be the next stage. Or what are your assumptions on how to build the lead list, and then test and validate from there.
That's
Okay.
some great knowledge we're getting. Thank you so much, Jessica. Clarita, I see you have our last question here today for our experts. I just want to tell everyone, thank you so much for being here. We're going to turn it to Clarita for you all from Her Brand & Co. Also encourage everyone that you do have access to the Her Brand & Co. Learning platform through Digital Undivided. It's in the chat. Please check that out. Also check out Digital Undivided. We do the Lean Start program. I love to have people who participate in that. It's a 5-week virtual version of it. So Clarita, I'm going to turn it back over to Jessica and Mari. And I just want to thank everyone for being here today. And I'm sorry for getting a little bit of background noise, but Clarita looks like she's got the last question for you too. This is great expertise we're getting.
Awesome. Thanks, Leah.
Hey there. Hey everyone, I'm Clarissa Jimenez. I'm the founder of In Color Stock, which is a stock content licensing company that works with Black and POC creators to license their images across multiple stock content sites. So my question is that right now I am trying something new to be able to validate whether I have a business model that could gain traction. And I'm doing that by identifying just 5 pilot customers that I could work with for Q1 and be able to take them through the entire process of what it's like to license their images, how to monetize them, and then use those pilot customers as a way to further assess, do I have a business model here that would allow me to then expand to 20 customers and 50 customers and so forth. My question is around this approach of getting pilot customers to work with you. And in a way, they're like your beta testers. Any thoughts on that? I mean, I have a lot more questions that I can ask, but just in general, any advice, any thoughts around working with the cohort of customers that I'm treating as pilot customers, with the understanding that I'm really looking for insights more than anything versus just making money off of them. I'm just really trying to validate the business model.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for asking that question. So you need to be in MVP territory. You need to be in early adopter territory. So who are the businesses that need stock photography, that are keenly aware of cultural representation? It's important to their organization. They probably also are doing DEI related work, or hopefully they're doing it well and they're not just like doing it. Who representation is a core part of their business model and a core part of their marketing and their communications. Those are going to be the individuals who are, my hypothesis would be that would be the individuals who would want a service like yours. But I mean, the first thing to do is create a list of who you think, like, what is your leap of faith assumption? Who do you think needs these images, and who is having, like, they're actively on iStock or whatever it is, they're actively on Unsplash and they're like, cannot find diversity. This is killing me. I need to shoot my own photography. Like, what are the brands who are doing that and who have a problem with this already? Make a list and reach out to them. I mean, truly, this is like cold call sales 101. Like, just reach out to them and just be like, hey, like, I can see that your brand is really, what's what I'm looking for? Like, your brand is really motivated by representing individuals with certain photography. It's a core component of their brand. This is a new resource and you're looking for beta testers. Like, I mean, just a simple cold outreach email is an amazing way to get that started, but I would just make a list, would be what I would say. It feels rudimentary, but I mean, really, that's the answer. Mari, anything you want to say before we jump off?
No, I say, yeah, test it out. But I did say that during my time in higher ed, I did marketing, and this was definitely a pain point for me, finding stock photo with accurate representation of our student body. I know higher ed has changed drastically in the last couple of years, but that would be an assumption that you could make and test out.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone. Thank you so much, Jessica and Mari, first and foremost, for sharing your wonderful expertise and the Her Brand & Co learning platform with everyone. And then I just want to, on behalf of Digital Undivided and Her Brand & Co, thank all of our attendees today here, Giselle, Michelle Williams, I got a Williams last name too, Honey Beauty, Alana, Clarita, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time here today. And I look forward to our next time we're partnering with Her Brand & Co. This is great. Everyone go check out their platform. It's really terrific.
Awesome.
Thanks,
for having us.
everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.